Hello and welcome to another episode of Hornets Daily, your one-stop shop for all things Charlotte Hornets. As always, we're presented by the good people over at FanArc, and I'm your host, Vance Ballard, but you know by now you can call me VB. I want to thank everybody for joining along with us, watching along today. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment down in the comments section. We always enjoy interacting, watching you guys interact, and continuing to build this Hornets Daily family here on the program. Hey, DJ, run that back. The Swarm have acquired a member of the 2025 Summer League Championship team. We'll tell you more about that on today's show. There's a moose on the loose in France. We'll talk about what it means for Musa to be out playing with Team France. What should you look for? What to expect from him out there in Eurobasket 25. We'll talk about that today as well. The rumor mill has heated back up. It stayed hot, to be honest with you. It's July. It never goes anywhere. But today we're going to talk a little bit about some trade pieces at the deadline, a way too early look at the trade deadline and what it could mean. And with all the talk surrounding the center position, it's been a hot and heavy position, not just on our program, but throughout the internet. With all the talk going on about the center position, we're going to have a question for the chat. It is Wednesday, so we'll leave you with that question in reference to something we talked about yesterday and the center position. We'll flesh it all out. Be sure to wait around and answer that question down in the chat so we can go over that as well later on in the week. If there is anything you know about us here on Hornets Daily, you know we don't do beating around the bush. We like to dive headfirst into the program, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. As I mentioned, DJ Rodman has returned to the organization. The Swarm announced yesterday that they have sent Raekwon Battle over to the Maine Celtics for the 6'6" son of Dennis Rodman. Now, as I mentioned, DJ was a member of the Summer League team out in Vegas, and he played pretty well in his time on the floor for the Charlotte Hornets. He had 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal in the Summer League championship game. He scored 6 points in the semifinal game as well. So when he was on the floor, he made use of those minutes and was relatively productive, especially in that championship game. Rodman showed a pretty good amount of upside, a lot of flash, and some promise on the court. He spent all of last year in the G League, including 25 games with the Maine Celtics. During those 25 games, he averaged 6.8 points per game and 5.7 rebounds per game. So some decent numbers for the young fella during his time in the G League last year. However, Rodman is another guard who has been added to the organization, to the roster. So it's more than likely he's not going to have any impact on the NBA roster, at least this year, by any means. But it does speak volumes to what he showed the front office and the rest of the organization out in Las Vegas. They're willing to make this move and add another developmental piece to the Swarm, to the organization, as he can, which will allow him to continue to develop. But this time it'll be under the tutelage of the Hornets organization, and if he does continue to flash and show signs of promise, he'll be right there already in-house. Not a bad move. I think it's a pretty smart decision for the Hornets, especially since he showed those signs of promise in the summer league. Showed some some flash on the offensive side of the ball, as well as being able to play defense, something he's going to have to continue to work on. But it's going to be interesting to watch him develop over in Greensboro and see if he does turn into somebody who is going to be used on the NBA roster, or someone that can make a long-term impact here with the organization. Speaking of long-term impacts with the organization, we know one fella whose plan is already to have one of those. That's Moussa Diabate. The Moose is on the loose. He's landed out in France after a long talk about him yesterday and wondering what exactly we were gonna be in store for with his game. How has his development come along? Well, Moose is gonna give us the answer to that before we thought. As I mentioned, he's landed out in France. He's teamed up with his fellow countrymen as they prepare for a tournament called Eurobasket 25, where Diabate is going to be a member of the French national team. And personally, I'm excited to get a little preview of his game and where he stands right now. What's his summer development looked like? How has it worked? Has he developed at all? I'm very excited to answer all of those questions in an early preview of his game and what he's got to, what he's going to put on display on the floor for Team France. Now, granted, his role is probably going to be a little different out there in Europe as than it would be with the Hornets in the NBA, but that doesn't mean there's not some things we can still take away from some important minutes to watch from Musa while he's out there playing. And I am by no means a Team France expert, don't want to claim to be, but I do know enough to know that Musa should get a good amount of playing time in the absence of Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama, who are not on the French roster for the tournament. So the two main bigs for France are not there. That's going to bump up Musa into a pretty prime spot. To be honest, he should get quite a bit of minutes, good amount of experience, and give us something to watch and take and learn about his development and see where he stands right now. It's still gonna be a very good test for Dubate and where he's at and what Musa has been doing over in the summer. The likes of Jonas Valanciunas, Nikola Vucevic, Giannis is in the tournament, and even Nikola Jokic as well, the Joker, playing for his home country. Now, all of those are probably going to take place. All of those matchups are going to have to take place outside of group play, so we may have to wait a couple games before we see Musa really tested against top-level NBA talent. But another bright spot about this tournament, another good thing about this summer preview of his game is going to be we'll see him face off against some very top-level talent. How's he going to hold his own? Is he going to be able to hold his own? I think the answer to that is going to be yes. I think we're going to see some very positive things from the Moose. I think we're going to see that this summer has been productive for him. This entire offseason has gone well, and I know he's ready to get on the floor and show us that high energy level of play he has. Has he been able to keep that high energy level of play and then refine those skills around it offensively, continue to work on the defensive end of the floor as well? We know he can already crash the glass. It'll be interesting to see if he's even been able to upgrade that part of his game. So again, a lot to watch for Musa out in France. How is he? My main thing that I'm going to be focusing on is his defensive ability. Has he really taken that next step on that end of the floor to prepare himself to be the starting center here in Charlotte? This tournament could go a long way to showing us that, putting that a little bit on display. It could also speak volumes about what we talked about yesterday with the front office's potential for really liking and putting all their trust in Musa. This could go a long way if he goes out and he shines and he plays well. Then we know Peterson and company were right. There is something they saw, and maybe he is the guy who deserves a shot to be the center here in Charlotte for the long term. Now, if Dubate goes out and doesn't play well in France and even on into the regular season, then that leaves the already large looming question of who is going to be the center for the Hornets long term. Again, that's something we've been discussing ad nauseum here on the program. But if Musa can't prove himself worthy in this Eurobasket 25 tournament in the beginning of the regular season, it's going to mean that something's got to be done to strengthen that position inside in the paint. If for the reason of Dubate not playing well or any other happens to inspire the front office to make some moves to acquire a new big man, there has been some interest, some talk, some rumor mill speak flying around about who the potential trade pieces are going to be coming up at the deadline. Ryan Stano of Hornets SI wrote an article where he said he believes that two of the Hornets newcomers could be potential trade pieces moving towards as we get into the regular season and move towards the trade deadline. Stano says that both Colin Sexton and Spencer Dinwiddie could be trade pieces again at the trade deadline. We know that the Hornets have a slew of young guards that they seem to be fond of, so Sexton and Dinwiddie kind of make sense as two potential pieces who would be on the move. They're expensive. They're more expensive, older guards. We know what we're getting out of them, and they don't really have the upside that the rest of the young group of ones and twos has here in Charlotte. So that could be a little bit of why Stano thinks these two are both on the trading block. He put obviously he said Colin Sexton has proven himself in the league and could potentially get the biggest haul of anyone on the roster, of any of the potential trade pieces that are sitting on the roster right now, which could go a long ways if the haul is the right thing, if it's a future building, if it includes a big man as well as some picks, maybe that could be something to take a look at. Um, Stano even thinks there's a chance that if the Hornets are playing well come the deadline and have positioned themselves into the playoff hunt going down the back half of the season, he still thinks there's a chance that Sexton could be moved. And this one would be, in his opinion, where a move for the big man would come into play. So that's something to keep an eye on. Even if Colin Sexton is playing well and the Hornets are playing well, is Jeff Peterson still going to be willing to move him and shop him around at the trade deadline? Obviously, Stano also mentioned Spencer Dinwiddie as another potential piece in this article that he wrote there. Dinwiddie, another proven veteran guard. He's a little bit, I don't want to say less proven. He just doesn't seem, I don't think he's as good as Colin Sexton. We know what we're getting with Spencer Dinwiddie. He's been a long-standing veteran in the league. He's very solid offensively, and when he does come in and play the point guard position, when he plays at that one, he adds a lot of length to that position. He's long for a point guard, so it makes that increases his defensive ability when guarding other ones, makes it a little tougher for them to move around a guy with the length of Spencer Dinwiddie. Obviously, we know the Hornets have an abundance of ones, of point guards on their roster, and the rise of KJ Simpson. Been a long time since you mentioned it. Me, folks knew I wasn't going to go that long without it. The rise of KJ Simpson has really increased the pressure on Dinwiddie to earn his spot on the roster, and it may not even be something he's capable of doing anymore. Like I said, the organization is very fond of the point guards that it does have now. If LaMelo can stay healthy, Trey Mann still on the roster, Colin Sexton can play the one, and then there's KJ and his rise and his meteoric development as he continues to prove he deserves a spot on the NBA roster as well. So I think that probably means that, in my opinion, makes me lean a little bit more towards Spencer Dinwiddie being the guy that's going to get moved. He can still get a decent amount back for him, especially if the suitor is the right one. If you're looking at a caliber team that just needs to add a little bit of veteran guard leadership here or a little bit of offensive help there, then Dinwiddie is absolutely, in my opinion, the favorite of those two to be moved. I kind of disagree with not only Stano, but really everyone out there who's saying that Colin Sexton is going to be a trade piece at all. I think that he's not. I think that it sounds like everything coming out from both sides, from the organization's end, from Colin Sexton's end, it sounds like both teams have a mutual interest in being here for a good amount of time. I think that Sexton's play on the court as well is going to be vital. I think he's going to play his way into staying on this Hornets roster. I'm a big Colin Sexton supporter. I think his offensive game is very impressive. His ability to score the basketball, move with and without it. Now, can he take another step on defense? Can he not be a hindrance on that end of the floor? That's going to be the question. But I think if he does improve his defensive game a little bit, I just don't see there being a way that Charlotte can move on from him. I think him and Charles Lee are going to mesh a little bit too well in the regular season. Once they start playing games, head coach and player, I think they're going to build a relationship to where Colin Sexton is not going to be the guy that's moved on from the way everybody thinks he is. Again, that could be a hot take on my part. I could be way off. That's just how I'm feeling. I don't think Sexton is as much of a potential movable piece as a lot of people out there do. I see Colin Sexton in a Hornets uniform for a good amount of time. I'm not going to say he's going to be a franchise guy or end his career here or anything like that, but I do see at least this full season and potentially working out something into another contract at the end of it. I think that's how important Colin Sexton is going to be and is going to become to this franchise, to this organization, especially if he can help put this team in a playoff position sometime this season or even next. Speaking of this season, we still know there are several questions surrounding the center position. It's something we've talked about at length here on this program. It's something we talked about yesterday, as a matter of fact, for a good amount of time. There's a lot of concerns surrounding that position. I offered a spin zone yesterday saying that maybe the front office, it's time to trust them. Maybe they've seen some promise with the guys they do have in the building. Specifically, yesterday was about Moussa Dubate and how he could be project to be the starter and be the center of the future here in Charlotte. If the front office sees it that way, that was something we pitched as a spin zone or maybe a potential reason why the Hornets have not gone out and acquired a big man in the offseason. And that's going to lead us to our question of the day, our Wednesday question for the chat, our buzzing question, if you will. The question I have today is going to be specific to that center position. Who do you guys think should or is going to start at the 5 on opening night? As the Hornets take their first regular season tip-off, who's going to be the big man in the circle taking that tip? Is it going to be Debate? Is it going to be Kalkbrenner? Is it going to be the old man Mason Plumlee? What do you guys think? I want to know your thoughts, your opinions. Is the 5 going to come from somewhere on the outside? Do the Hornets actually make that move and bring in a 5 to anchor down the paint position going into the regular season? So there it is. That's our question of the day. Who is going to be the starting center for the Hornets on opening night? If you think it's going to last all season, you can let me know that as well. But who do you guys think will start at the center position on opening night? I've got my thoughts when we get into the answers here later on in the week. I'll tell you mine as well, who I think is going to be and should be in the paint on opening night. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode, folks. I want to thank you, as always, for watching along with us. Oh, and don't forget out there, if you are in need of a $20,000 tech scholarship to a 2-year online campus, a scholarship funded by an NBA superstar, then Brandon Miller is the guy for you. He's doing it again, folks. We've seen this, his community give back efforts that he's made all throughout the summer. He now has his own scholarship. Is there anything this man cannot and will not do? Brandon Miller, a fantastic member of the community, becoming a pillar of the community here in Charlotte. And we'll leave you with that on today's show. Again, thanks as always for watching along with us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment, answer today's chat question if you don't mind. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. As always, I'm your host, Vance Ballard. Thanks for watching along with us on today's episode